My HR deputy was indeed right in stating that it is undesirable for a company to hire relatives, especially close family members. This practice can be disruptive and interfere with proper reporting and performance. I admit my error in judgment, although the situation is quite complex. I made the decision to hire my favorite niece Jessica as a temporary replacement for my secretary Emily for a month. After a week on the job, this feisty girl, fully aware of my affection for her, began playfully testing the boundaries of what was permissible. One morning, entering my office, I found on my desk a note with a poem and a sincere declaration of love addressed to me. What a brave girl, and how amusing her antics. I decided to relax a little because the working day was over and there was no one in the firm. I went into the reception area and called Jessica into my office. There, I decided to bring her down to earth a bit for these jokes. So, the sassy girl locked her office with a latch and declared that this was no joke and that she was really in love with me. I don't know what came over me, maybe Jessica's influence, but we crossed that forbidden line very quickly, and to tell you the truth, I felt pretty good about it. But my advice to everyone goes like this. Never hire a relative for a job. I can't wait for my obedient secretary to return. Sure, to be frank, Jessica is much prettier, but she's not very good at taking orders. And my friend David did even worse. He hired his neighbor's girlfriend as his secretary. Such a beautiful girl with a great figure. She could have been a fashion model, but she was a rather shallow girl. One day, I had a conversation with her. To say she had more than 3 brain cells would be unflattering. Besides, asking her to run an errand for the chief? It's easier to do it myself. Though other orders, like hey, gorgeous, come to my office right away. I need something. She did very admirably. Jessica was better, of course, but she's still a relative. And she should get a bonus, also in full, for her in-depth work. So my hiring manager's advice turned out to be very accurate. Come on, I think. Just a couple more weeks, and I'll fire my niece Jessica, and my secretary will go back to work. But it's hard to have a relative on the payroll. No respect for rank. A couple days later, I had her poems back on my desk. And a brazen request for help. She was very brazen. But then she did everything without question. Now, she's just blackmailing me with her hints and in poems too. But first, of course, she got the money for the help. And after Jessica got the money, I got a huge surprise right on the table. It was wonderful, but how unnerving. Although, to be completely honest, it was lovely and sweet, nerve-wracking. But heed the advice of experienced people. Don't hire relatives, especially beautiful ones. Otherwise, it will be like with me, a constant reminder of how good we were together. A few more days went by, and the situation only got more complicated. Jessica was getting bolder each time. Now she was slipping notes under my office door in the middle of the day. The first one was simple. Remember how good we were together. Let's do it again. Such candor would have shocked anyone else, but not Jessica. I couldn't concentrate on work. Meetings with clients were getting harder and harder, and although I told myself it would be over when my secretary Emily returned, part of me was being pulled in 2 directions. On the one hand, I knew it was wrong, completely unethical. On the other hand, Jessica was irresistible in her charm and knew exactly how to push my buttons. I walked into my office one afternoon and saw Jessica sitting cross-legged at my desk, carelessly flipping through some papers as if she were the boss of the place. "You're late for our little rendezvous," she teased. "I told you it can't go on like this," I said firmly. But she only laughed. "Come on," she said, as she stood up and walked over to me, her hand lightly touching my shoulder. "You can't pretend you don't like it." There was no denying it. She leaned closer, and for a moment I almost gave in again. But then something inside me snapped. "Enough." I stepped back. "You've had your fun, Jessica. But it has to end. No more games. No more notes. You're done." For the first time, she looked genuinely surprised, and her playful confidence wavered. "You're firing me." "Firing you. You can't work here anymore. It's wrong, and it shouldn't have happened." For a moment, she froze, staring at me, her eyes searching mine for any sign of weakness. But I held firm. Finally, she sighed, shrugged, and picked up her purse. "Okay," she said, and turned to leave. But as she reached the door, she stopped and looked at me with a smirk. "You're going to miss me. Don't pretend you won't." With those words, she walked away, leaving me alone in the office, feeling a strange mixture of relief and regret. Days passed, and things slowly returned to normal. Emily was back at work, efficient and professional as ever, and for the first time in weeks, I was able to focus. But Jessica had left a mark. Every now and then, I caught myself thinking about her, those moments of reckless dedication. I found myself wondering what she was doing, if she had moved on with her life, if she thought of me the way I thought of her. One day, as I was leaving the office, I discovered an envelope on the windshield of my car. My heart raced. I knew the handwriting. Inside was a short note. "You can't run away from what's already in your heart. You know where to find me when you're ready." There was no signature, but it didn't need one. I knew exactly who it was from. I crumpled up the note and tossed it in the trash. But as I drove away, I couldn't shake the feeling that it wouldn't be the last time I saw Jessica. And maybe I just didn't want to.